This video is brought to you empowered by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, home of the fastest payouts in the industry and a match bonus of 125% on your first 3 deposits for up to $2,000. Use my creator link in the description below. BetUS, where it all begins. Today, I'd like to welcome to the show a good friend of mine, friend of the channel, one of Washington and NFL Insider's beat reporter here for the Commanders, and a host of the newly named Lake Lewis Jr. podcast, my guy, Lake Lewis. How are we feeling on this week 1 Monday, my guy?
What's going on, man? Lots of excitement, ready to get to Tampa and get this thing going.
Another season. We got another season to be excited about. Just like your podcast was newly named, Washington Stadium, like the team, is on its 3rd name as of late. We're now Northwest Stadium, Northwest Federal. I don't know how we're going to abbreviate it or nickname it. What were your thoughts on Washington naming rights to the new stadium? Well, to the current stadium.
Well, I mean, it's business as usual, and good for Northwest Federal, credit union, because they took a chance, and I think most people in the region can honestly say they never heard of them, so now they do, and they know of them in a big way, and they're ushering in the new Commanders, the new look team, the new excitement. So good for them. Hopefully everything works out for them.
I know bills had to be paid and money had to be made. They couldn't just rock with Commanders feel. You got to throw a name on it. And I think what this tells us with this 8-year naming rights contract is that stadium conversation, that shit is going to go into the 2030s possibly. I have a theory that they're trying to time it up with the 100-year anniversary to roll out the new stadium during the 100-year, roll out some new uniform, and potentially, can we say another name? Because Josh Harris, we got a rare sighting. We never used to hear from the owner. Josh Harris spoke quite eloquently and quite honestly to the media the other day. What were your thoughts of all of Josh Harris's comments and how honest he is with the media? It's refreshing, right?
It really is, man, and just sitting there hearing them, first of all, just sitting there for us to say, you ready to go downstairs? And I forgot. I'm like, what are we going downstairs for? And they were like, oh, Josh Harris is speaking to us. I'm like, oh, damn. Totally forgot, because I'm not used to that. So, for him to be able to do that, Rio, and then just come in by himself, unassuming. That's the other thing. Like when you would see Dan Snyder in the past, and, I hate to bring the name up, but when you did, it was an entourage, and it was just, look at me, it's nothing like that now. It really isn't. And, I think for Commanders fans, they should really be excited that not only do they have an owner that is used to being in the sports world realm as far as running other teams. I mean, say what you want about the Sixers, they're a threat to win a championship in the NBA. The New Jersey Devils are a threat to win an NHL Stanley Cup championship. So he's not just owning teams, he's owning championship, inspiring teams. And I think for Washington fans, you should feel good about that, because he also is smart enough to know what sport is kingpin in this country, and it is the NFL. So he's got his hands involved now, and he wants to be first class at everything. He doesn't want to just be another organization. He wants Washington to get back to where they were when I was younger, when they were the blueprint on how you ran a professional organization.
I know, man. It's a new day in Washington, and when our fans, or when Sixer fans like to jump over here, y'all are gonna wish it was another guy who bought the team. No, you don't understand our plight as Commanders fans. You don't understand how we couldn't even let the main thing be the main thing for the last 25 years. We have to talk about DEA raids mid-season. We got to talk about misconduct, sexual harassment, scandal. We couldn't even be trash in peace. And if what Josh Harris built in Philadelphia is enough for now, I'll take it. He found a transcendent generational talent in Joel Embiid, and they're consistently in the playoffs competing for a chip. Have they taken that next step yet? No, but winning is hard. But getting there, winning 50-plus games regularly. In the NFL, you can't really compare it to the NBA because the parity is totally different. But I think we got grown folks running the operation here now. But it's week 1, like, the 53-man roster set. We made a special team signing to the practice squad over the weekend. What were your initial thoughts to seeing the final 53-man roster?
I mean, I thought it was a work in progress. I did. I thought that they still were probably going to bring in a receiver, and they did.
Mhm.
And I thought that maybe they'll bring in a couple more guys, veteran guys from around the league that they could put on their practice squad temporarily, but with the aspirations of moving them up. And let's just face it, the linebacker they signed from Seattle is a Pro Bowler, by the
Yep.
way. Uh,
Mhm.
Special teams ace on top of that. So he's not going to be on the practice squad for a long time.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
just has to get acclimated to what they're doing, and then he'll be up to that 53-man roster. But I think overall, Rio, man, the talent is there. Like the practices, everything I saw every day. I'm impressed with the speed of the team. I'm impressed with the physicality of the team, the size of the team. They went from being a small team to now they look like a modern professional NFL team.
I
And
know.
hopefully the results show. But I do think that that 53-man roster was earned. Whoever made that roster. I mean, when you look at a guy like Tyler Owens make it, or
Undrafted.
Olsen Yankoff, I mean,
Mhm.
these aren't guys that came in here in years past and make this football team
Oh
because
yeah.
there's favoritism. There's guys, it's my guy, he's not making it. No matter even if they outplayed guys. So for Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, just to come in from day one and say that they want to, have a culture of competition and guys going at it and, as they say, working their ass off, and
Mhm.
they're going to reward the guys who do that. Well, we hear that kind of lingo all the time, but the
Oh
proof
yeah.
is in the pudding. Well, they have two guys now that bumped somebody off the roster that was on the roster last year. I mean, hell, if you look at the tight end position, Yankoff pretty much took Cole Turner's job.
He
Cole Turner's
did.
on the practice squad now. So that tells you that's a good sign to show you that they really mean what they say. If you're working your ass off, they're going to play you.
They say competition all the time. There are a lot of coach speaks and formalities. We know about all the politics and pageantry of the last coaching regime here, but these guys actually mean it. I see fans overreacting that KJ Henry wasn't retained, that Ricky Stromberg wasn't retained to the final roster. 5 of the 7 picks from 2023 are already out the door. Forbes and Quan Martin are the only remaining guys from that class. I don't see why there should be overreaction. These guys have to put their fingerprints and pick their guys. They said they're titling guys commanders. If you're not a commander in their eyes, then so be it. I don't see why fans overreact to players who contributed into losing, right?
Yeah, and also on top of that, no offense to Cole, I'm not trying to pile on,
Mm-hmm.
but what has he done?
Right.
Seriously. And as you said, he contributed to losing. So what I'm saying is, that wasn't working. So they didn't say get rid of the guy altogether. They basically want to rehabilitate the guy. That's all that is. I
Yep.
said this before. Last year, to me, if you were a rookie for the Commanders, was a wash because you didn't get proper coaching. You weren't put in the best positions to succeed. But let's face it, some of those guys were reaches in the first place
Sure were.
from a talent evaluation standpoint. And one thing we know about Adam Peters is that he has an eye for talent. And the other thing we know about Dan Quinn is everywhere he's been, his teams have been successful. I'm tired of people saying we lost in the Super Bowl. I think every Commanders fan would sign up today
Mm-hmm.
if you were told the Commanders were going to the Super Bowl, but they were going to lose a 28-point lead at halftime. But you can sign up for it, but they're going to the Super Bowl. You know they're going to lose. Everyone signs up for that today.
First
So
name on the list.
right, exactly. So people need to stop with that whole he wasn't successful. He was in Seattle. He took a team, literally took a team to the Super Bowl with that defense because the Legion of Boom
Mm-hmm.
carried them. Call it
Yep.
like it is. They should have won 2 in a row,
Yep.
but that wasn't on him. That was on the offense. Didn't run Marshawn Lynch. We know about that. In Dallas, listen, he had a defense that was 1 or 2 in the league last 3 years as far as turnovers, and they didn't have 2 anchors in the middle of the field, by the way. He
They did
has that
not.
in Washington. He has
Mm-hmm.
3 anchors because don't forget about Jerzon Newton. I'm telling you, he's got more talent on this Washington defense in the front 7 than he had in Dallas. Yeah, he had Micah, which kind of separates things. But I
Mm-hmm.
think Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louva about to turn some heads around here, literally. Not just on the field, but they're going to make people realize that they have a really great linebacker room. The younger guys are going to play better. And when Jordan McGee hopefully can come back, that's another guy keep your name on. Secondary, not as good as Dallas's secondary, but who thought Bland last year was going to do what he did as a rookie in the NFL?
Nobody, not
Who
a soul.
who thought Diggs was going to be what he is? I understand he's coming back from that knee injury, but who thought he was going to be what he is when he was a converted wide receiver in college? So again, give credit where credit is due. There is a talent change here, and I think people are going to see that.
Yeah, and my biggest thing with I see people overreacting over the preseason games. We haven't shown the actual scheme yet. We haven't
Thank
seen
you.
the heartbeat of the defense play yet. We have not opened up the offensive playbook. There's nothing exotic happening. They're not showing any looks. You're not going to show your hand in preseason game. Why would we ruin the element of surprise? Tampa has no idea what's walking into Raymond James Stadium on Sunday, and I think it was intentional that they kept it that way. Deron Bland and Trevon Diggs, like you talked about, these guys can coach up secondary players. So I'm very negative on the cornerback room to start. We're going to get to that in just a second. But as fans, we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. Every location Joe Witt and Dan Quitt have been to, they have significantly improved the defensive unit. We got some pieces. We got linebackers here for the first time, and I don't know how long. I forgot how the linebacker position was supposed to be played or what it looked like, but I trust in Dan Quinn and Joe Witt going into this season. You're a Penn State guy. We let a couple of your Penn State boys out of the building. Tariq Castro Fields, so you was gassing up last episode. He didn't make the final 53.
I was shocked by that, man. I
know you was. I know you. He was picked up off of waivers by the Carolina Panthers, but the bigger acquisition or the player we let go, Jahan Dotson, they felt like he was not only not a fit to start, he was not a fit in the current culture to be on this roster. You know the market is bad when you got to do business with the ops. You trade in the division. What were your thoughts on the Jahan Dotson trade and what the return on the Jahan Dotson trade was?
I mean, I was disappointed. I was shocked, on both accounts. I didn't feel like they got a lot back for him, but I can say this. One thing about Dan Quinn and Adam Peters is that they want, I don't want to use the word like screaming maniacs on the field, but they want personality. They want toughness. They want an edge on the field. Basically, they want demons out there. And Jahan was a very laid back, very unassuming guy, and just his body language did not look good throughout camp. It absolutely didn't. And ironically, the day before they made the trade, Donna Hopkins, my aunt, we were on the field talking.
Shout out Auntie Donna.
Yeah, and he was returning punts. And he caught one and took like 5 yards and turned around. Right after him, you have Olamide Zacchaeus catch one and sprinted the whole field. And Donna looks at me and I'm like, man, his body language. She said, that's not good. That's not good, especially when he hasn't done much for them. They traded him the next morning. I mean, so yeah, again, he didn't fit the description. And that also goes to show you, like you're saying, Rio, they mean what they say. It's not lip service. They don't care. They said they don't care what your draft order was. They don't care what your contract is. If you are not producing, they're going to find an upgrade. And they've been doing that across the board. And I love it, to be honest with you.
I love it.
It was one of my Penn State guys, you know what I'm saying? But it's all good because we had a big win this weekend. So
hell yeah. And Jahan is in a much better situation. Nobody's going to be counting on his production. They can literally live without him in Philadelphia with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. He's going to be the fourth target or the fourth or fifth option when you consider Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, the two receivers on the outside. He's literally going to be option number 5 for the Eagles. So he doesn't really have to go out there and produce at the rate that Washington fans expected him to, but never was able to get to here in DC. Best of luck to the endeavors of Jahan Dotson in Philadelphia, but not really because he's an op now. The depth chart is the first official depth chart is going out, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any surprises Commanders fans should be anticipating when this depth chart goes out?
No, I don't think so. I think the big question that I think is going to start to come up as the season progresses is, in my opinion, it's going to be, is Mikey Sainristil your number one corner? Because he looks like it. I mean, he plays like it, but I don't know if his size makes him a number one corner. That let's just call it like it is. He plays big. He plays tough. He's a great player. Probably their most talented guy in the secondary as far as corners. But he's going to lock some people up in the middle of the field. So that's where he's going to be. But I think he's going to be a guy that's going to make so many plays, have so many big moments that you're just going to wonder, maybe do you put him on the outside? Do you bring Quan back in the slot and put another safety back there with Jeremy Chin? You know, it's going to be little things like that, but I think they're going to mix things up so much you won't know. One of the other things is just going to be the emergence of another receiver. Now, naturally, they went out and brought in Brown, you know, from the Texans, which is a big move for them because Noah Brown is a guy that has some size on him. He's rugged, tough. And you know, let's face it, when you get paired up with a guy that you're good friends with, you played in college with, and you see that guy over there has become a star, that's motivation for you. You know what I mean? So I know he was released, and sometimes people look at released players like they're not good enough. No, I just think with the money that they were going to have to pay him for 1 year, he's a little older. And the Texans are a young football team with some other younger pieces. And they brought in Stephon Diggs, where you knew somebody had to be expendable. So I thought it was a brilliant move. And I want to tell you a little story, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. This is your world.
After the last practice, I did my stand-up maybe 45 minutes after practice ended. So I did my stand-up on the field. But when practice ended, maybe about 15, 20 minutes after practice had ended, a couple media people were still standing around. Adam Peters is walking around, not in like, you know, game day situation out there at practice. He has his earbuds in, sweatshirt, whatever. I mean, t-shirt, whatever. And he's walking and somebody was like, oh, maybe he's trying to get some laps in after practice around the field. But he had his phone and he had his earbuds in, and he wasn't waving. He normally speaks to all of it. None of that. And I literally told my good friend David Harrison, I was like, making a deal. He didn't think that, but that's what was happening. They were making a deal. So these guys are working, man. They're always looking for a way to improve this franchise. And if you're a Commanders fan, you have to be ecstatic about that. You really do.
You have to be very excited because I see people saying, I'll believe it when I see it. This isn't like any of the rebuilds you've seen in the last 25 years because, one, we know who sat atop this organization. Two, we never had a general manager given full reins and full autonomy of the organization who had an aligned relationship with a head coach. It was always some wacky ass relationship, Dan handing the keys to the franchise to a player. It was always a circus-like environment. This is all business here now. You just saw Adam Peters making moves. We traded Ridgeway. We traded Jahan Dotson. We signed Noah Brown, who is a plug-and-play veteran. This is a guy who gave you, yardage-wise, Jahan Dotson production last year as the fourth option in Houston, and he missed 7 games. He only played in 10 games last year. So this is a starting caliber receiver veteran that you're adding to the room, and we could definitely use a vet in that young room, right?
And a big target on top of that to go.
Yep, so we need some size. Yep,
absolutely need some size. And I think it's a brilliant move too, Rio, because as you said, they need a vet in the room. They have Terry. They need, now Noah. You think about this. I mean, you have Luke McCaffrey, a rookie that's still going to be learning his way. You have Ben Sinnott, Senate, another young guy, tight end. You have guys that you don't want to put too much pressure on. So naturally, you have Zach Ertz in the tight end room that can alleviate that and let, Senate and Bates and guys and Yankoff just continue to develop. It's just brilliant moves across the board. Bobby Wagner, a linebacker, bringing in a guy like Frankie Louvu, who I think now Frankie Louvu's game goes from a really good prospect at linebacker to now a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker.
Superstardom.
That's what happens when you have a Hall of Fame player right next to you who can tell you and show you things. It's just something we've never seen strategically done here. You've just never seen it. Nope. It's always been, as you said, front top heavy, and then an injury happens and it's over. It's over. Done with. So now they're developing players. Even their backups get the same amount of love as the starters because they know that backup is one play away from being a starter. That's the sign of a good organization.
I know our fans are famished. We're starving for a winner here. I think a lot of them, they want the Mickey Mouse ticket to the playoffs. They want us to go all in on a playoff trip this year. I think they want to make us competitive this year, but they're trying to build something that punches a ticket to the playoffs annually, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, listen, they're not going to sit here and tell you they're rebuilding. They don't like using that word.
Recalibration.
Exactly, recalibration. And on top of that, they don't even use that anymore. Listen, man, you need one thing in the NFL if you want to have a prayer. You need a franchise quarterback. You need a face, not a guy that's good, that has potential. I mean, a real guy that defensive coordinators don't go to bed because they're figuring out, how am I going to stop this guy? And I love what you said earlier about, Tampa. Todd Bowles is one of the most blitzing coaches in the NFL.
Yep.
Todd Bowles has struggled with blitzing agile quarterbacks, and he's ultimately even more. Look this stat up. He's like 0-5 against rookie quarterbacks. I'm just so you got a rookie quarterback and you have an agile quarterback, but you have a quarterback that's got a gun for an arm as well. So please let's understand. Yeah, you're right. They didn't show anything here, man. They're not going to Tampa saying we're rebuilding, we're going to see how it works. They're going in the Raymond James thinking we're coming out of there with a dub. And then they're thinking they're coming home to a dub against the Giants. And then you see where you really stack up when you go to Cincinnati week 3. But I'm telling you, Rio, I think this football team, man, I've said this in years past and it bit me in the tail. I thought the talent was there, but we didn't know the coaching was going to be atrocious. But everything from what I'm seeing from coaches, position coaches, everything is in play here for this team to make a quantum leap from 4 wins last year. That team had more talent than 4 wins, but
for sure,
4 wins because of coaching. You're telling me that Dan Quinn and that coaching staff's not good for 2 just because they're better? Of course. So that gives you 6. You're telling me that Adam Peters and his draft and his free agents, that's not good for 1? I mean, of course, that gives you
7.
And you're telling me that number was number 8. You're telling me, I'm sorry, number 5. You're telling me
that quarterback
because you have an it factor now. He's not good for 1. I'm just going to say 1. And I'm thinking more than this, right? So I'm just giving you the bare bone minimum. That's 4 more wins just because it's a new setup. That's 8 wins.
And I like how you just set that up because I predicted 8 wins. That's my win-loss record. So that should be a good suitable expectation, right?
Oh, absolutely. If they win 8 wins, win 8 games this year, you've seen market improvement. I'm going to go here and tell you I'm taking 9 because I think that Jayden Daniels is that damn good.
He's nice, man.
Listen, man, it's not. Everyone keeps saying, well, you said, Sam Howell was good. I said, yeah, under the circumstances, Sam Howell was good. Sam Howell wasn't a franchise quarterback tailor-made. He could have played. If Sam Howell had a great offensive line, he could have been your franchise quarterback. Let's just call it like it is. If he had the ingredients around him that he wouldn't have to be the show. Well, Jayden's the show. And if you get those same ingredients around him, now you're talking about an elite NFL quarterback that's competing and putting you in situations to go to the playoffs and potentially Super Bowls.
That boy's different. And he's coming in as a rookie quarterback. He's a dual threat. Like some people call him a running quarterback. What's your comment on that?
Well, I hate it, man, because it's to me, it's a connotation that he's a black quarterback. That's what I take when I hear that. And I'm, I don't want to pull out race and all that, but that's what people do. They say with Lamar, oh, he's a running quarterback. Yeah, Lamar is. Lamar could be a running back. He's that good at what he does with that. But Lamar was a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Louisville and threw for over 3,000 yards each year and ran for over 1,000 yards. Jayden Daniels is different. You look at his stat line. In college, he's passed for 10,000 yards and rushed for 7,000 yards.
Yeah, man.
What quarterback has ever done that? No one. That's why I'm saying it. So is he a running quarterback? He's a quarterback that when he gets out in open space, he's elusive, he's loose, and he's ridiculously fast. He might be one of the top 10 fastest players in the NFL. Literally.
He's fast.
Yeah, no, he's 4.2 fast. So this is legit fast. Hopefully you don't see it too much because he's throwing darts out there. But I'm just telling you right now, man, you knew Robert when he was a rookie. You knew he was limited as far as what he saw reading defenses and things like that. You knew when Kirk came in, although he was making the throws, he was a lot of check downs, wasn't going deep early in his career, and definitely wasn't running. This guy right here is all of the above. He can throw it deep, and you saw it in preseason. He can run. You saw it in preseason. He can command the line of scrimmage. You saw it in preseason. So, I mean, again, and this is with vanilla offense. This isn't with what Cliff Kingsbury's putting in for them for Tampa
at all.
I'm telling you, man, when you watch them play against Tampa, it's going to look like we're looking at 2019 LSU.
That's what I want to hear. Like, he only had like 27 snaps in the preseason, but he somehow showed us every trick in the book. He showed us the rushing touchdown. He showed us on the read option keeper. He showed us the deep ball, beautiful ball placement to De'Ami Brown. He showed us he could check a play if he didn't like the look of the defense. He got the short game, the intermediate game. He did everything you needed to see, and he did it in less than 30 snaps. He's everything as advertised coming in. And we've watched so many quarterbacks come through here, have bad springs and bad summers. Doesn't it feel nice to get through a summer where the guy rarely had a bad practice?
Man, I'm telling you, man, I know what my eyes see. And I've been covering this for a while. And I've never seen a talent like that at quarterback. I've just never seen it. And he's it, man. And the biggest thing that he showed us in the preseason, as advertised, he doesn't turn the football over.
Nope.
He
does not.
He does not turn the football over. He didn't do it at LSU. That's a big thing, man, because, I mean, let's face it. How many times have you seen rookies in the past in the preseason just look a little shell-shocked? Like the game doesn't look faster than him. He looks faster than the game. As soon as he hikes the ball, I told you 2 seconds. Last time I was on your show, within 2 seconds, that ball is out of his hands or he's running.
And you saw it in the preseason versus Miami. That shit was flying out his hand.
Absolutely. He knows what he's trying to accomplish. And see, Rio, there's a difference between certain guys that are happy to get an opportunity to maybe start, happy to be in the NFL. Nah, man, this guy wants to be the best quarterback in football. And and he's not going to tell you this, but best believe he has a chip on his shoulder that Caleb went number one. Best believe on that.
He does.
That's what you want. That's that competitive juice that you want.
Hell yeah. There has to be athletic arrogance in your guy. A quarterback almost has to have arrogance within himself that teeters among like delusion. Like you have to feel like you can do anything. And I feel like Jayden is one of them ones. I heard it in an interview a couple months ago when they were asking him about being from the IE, like Bobby Wagner and CJ Stroud. And he was like, oh yeah, I seen CJ Stroud season last year, and I want to do something like that. He said, I want to do better than CJ Stroud. I want to top his numbers. That's what you want to hear from your franchise quarterback coming in. I think Washington might have one of them ones, man.
And the other thing I think fans need to remember too is that him and CJ and Bryce Young, they're boys. Like they're all from Cali, so they grew up knowing each other, competing and fighting for that number one spot. So it's been a competitiveness within them for a while, and like, love you dearly, my boy. I'm saying, like, you have a great show, but every time I come off your show, I'm like, I gotta do better than that, because that's just love. You know what I'm saying? That. So of course these guys are thinking that kind of stuff. And then you see Jordan Love, another guy from out that way. You see what they're doing, and they're changing the perception of the quarterback position, and they're also changing the perception of you need to sit and watch and wait for a while. Nah, man, today's game is offensive driven. If you have the right mind to bring out the best in these guys, they can be under center in week one, and that's what you're starting to see. Other guys starting now. They're just ready, man. And if you've played a lot of football in college, which Jayden did, which Bo Nix did, Michael Penix did, I mean, if you've played a lot of football, I mean, what more do you need to see?
Exactly. 55 games started in college. There's no more you need to see. And I like that you highlighted that he doesn't throw picks as much as a shit show we put around Sam Howell last year. He led the league in interceptions with
Put him up
21
there.
interceptions. 21 interceptions. That's a lot of turnover. You cut that number in half, and we win 3 more games last year. But Jayden, I don't even expect him to be really a double-digit interception guy. It
No.
may happen because fluky things happen, like the pick that happened to Shador Sanders the other day where the ball was kicked into the air. I wish they would stop counting certain types of interceptions against the quarterback. But
Right.
speaking of the rookie class, we know what we've seen so far and what we haven't seen. What is the health status on Brandon Coleman and Jerzon Johnny Newton? Because as a fan, I'm dying to see them play like this weekend versus Tampa Bay. Are they both on schedule to play this week, or are they still in the ramp up process with soft tissue injuries?
Well, I think Brandon Coleman's on pace to play, and I think come Wednesday when we're back at practice, because obviously we're off today and tomorrow. I think that's going to be the telltale. If he's out there Wednesday, he's a lock to play. He's already said that he's looking forward to it. So I think he's a competitor. He understands that he won that job, and what better way to usher it in? You know what I mean? Being your starting left tackle, and there are going to be injuries that these guys have to play through. This could be one of those things, but I think he plays. But as far as Johnny Newton, look, I think Jerzon's going to be, a guy that you might see pup list. Might be 4 games. It depends. I know to not see him put on anything yet. The last time I looked, that tells you that there's some hope that maybe he could be. And who's to say? Maybe we're seeing some gamesmanship. Who's to say? That they trot these guys out there for week 1. And because I'm gonna tell you right now, when Jerzon Newton is healthy,
that's a dog right there.
I don't know, and I mean this respectfully, because Duron's my dude, John's my guy.
You about to say what I think? Exactly.
I'm saying this real, man. That guy's upside might be, I don't even want to say might. I think it is. It's
most talented D tackle in that room. Say it with your chest, Lake, because he is.
This guy is special. His burst is sick. And, I'm a Big Ten guy. I believe my Big Ten, man. I saw him wreaking havoc at Illinois. And he was Big Ten Player of the Year, man. Defensive Player of the Year over Mikey Samuelsville, ironically.
Yep.
Listen, man, they have a dog down there. And he reminds me, people keep saying, you're crazy. He reminds me of Aaron Donald, man. I'm telling you, not the biggest dude, but not little, but just knows how to use his hands. His hands are violent. His footwork, it looks like the dude at some point had played soccer when he was younger. He's just moving around at a different pace and different speed.
Okay. And like that guy, I don't care. He's the most defensive. He's the most talented defensive tackle in that room to me. When he gets out on that field, that rotation with him, Payne, and Allen is going to be nasty. So we're thinking Brandon Coleman suits it up on Sunday. Would it be too much for us to expect Brandon Coleman to start and be penciled in as left tackle from day one?
No, he is the starting left tackle.
Let's get it.
I'm saying that right now. If he plays Sunday, he's starting. Yeah, no. I don't even know who they've got packing him up, because that's what he's been doing. He's been locking people up. Listen, man, that's the other thing I keep telling people. I remember being in Detroit for the draft. When pick came in and they took Brandon Coleman, there were some people out there that were like, what are they doing, man? He's a guard. He's not even a tackle. All you got to do is go back. Oh, no, Rio, bro. All you got to do is go back to the Michigan game 2 years ago. You talking 2 first-round draft picks on that defensive line for Michigan, and they could not get by him, period. And I'm starting to see this in practice. When they started having one-on-one drills and he put his hands on you, guys were getting held straight up. And I mean legit football players now. And you could just see with him, his confidence was growing, and everybody, you couldn't help but see it. And literally those 2 preseason games, because he didn't do much because he was injured, it didn't matter. He had already locked up the starting left tackle spot. Oh, yeah. So it was already done. This guy, Adam Peters, this would be the steal of I don't want to say the draft, but when you can get a starting left tackle out of your draft at what, with the third pick, fourth pick,
Yep.
come on, man, that's genius right there.
Yep. And it would be night and day difference from the last crew, because you're coming in, you found your franchise quarterback, your stalwart at left tackle, and the best cornerback in your room in one class. 3 hits in one class is a great class.
And maybe your best D tackle.
Oh yeah, and Johnny knew exactly. So 4 hits potentially in one draft is something we are not accustomed to seeing here in DC. I got a couple more for you, and I'm gonna let you get out of here because I know you got a busy week in Ashburn to cover. What breakthrough player success would mean and benefit more to Washington in 2024? De'Ami Brown or Emmanuel Forbes? If one of them lives up to their peak, to their zenith, the precipice of how good they can be in the NFL, which one would it be, Forbes or De'Ami?
I think it's a no-brainer, bro. It's Forbes, because he was a first-round draft pick. If you can get him to play like a first-round talent, then your problems are solved in your secondary, because you got a guy that can cover one side of the field. You have a guy like Benji St-Juste, who's not bad, who can, I think, benefit from this defensive strategy as well, because he's grabby and lengthy, and that's what they want. And then Mikey Sanders still can do his thing underneath. So I think if you can get Forbes to play like a first-round talent and create turnovers, which he did at Mississippi State, it's a no-brainer. It takes that defense from potentially being good to borderline having a chance to be great.
I know. I love that. I agree. I think the answer is obviously Emmanuel Forbes. I think De'Ami, by elimination, it can't be him. He's playing with a better quarterback. We're playing with a better offensive coordinator. I don't need to see anything to know Cliff Kingsbury is better at calling offense than Eric Bieniemy. If you need further example, go watch that nasty ass UCLA offense this weekend that Eric Bieniemy was coaching. They scored 1 touchdown. They scored 1 touchdown and could not move the ball. Shout out to EB, though. Hopefully he gets it together at some point. But it's easily Emmanuel Forbes. Like, if he just looks like an NFL starting corner, we're talking about a serious unit, because I don't think we have a CB1 on that team right now between St-Juste, Michael Davis, Emmanuel Forbes. Sanders still's the guy, but he's on the inside. And I think we want him to start in a spot where he thrives. We don't want to put him in a situation where he has to learn nuances to the position. I'm sure he can handle it, but Washington had the propensity for so many years to draft or sign a guy and then make them do something different. We go get William Jackson III. We go get Josh Norman. You're good at zone, come play man. You're good at man, come play zone. I don't think they want to do that. So if Emmanuel Forbes turns this corner, that defense is going to be a unit. What do you think year 2 Emmanuel Forbes is going to look like?
Much better than year 1 for sure. He's just going to be in better position to be able to be himself, and that's the one thing that I do like about Dan Quinn and Joe Witt and even Cliff Kingsbury on the other side. They've made it a point to let us know over and over they're not going to ask guys to do things that didn't get them to the pros. I mean, if you're, like you said, if you're a guy that locked up guys in man coverage, why are you playing zone? I mean, it's stupid. It's no other way to put it. If you're a guy that's a great edge rusher, then why do they have you in the middle of the field in the box getting tied up? So, guy like Jamin Davis, they realize this guy's athletic enough to come off the edge. And I think he's going to benefit from that. He's not a guy that shouldn't be covering tight ends, shouldn't be covering running backs in the flat. So they're going to have him just put his hand in the dirt and go at the quarterback. And it could be fun if you can do it. And he's shown it. He's starting to pick it up. So, again, I just think, what they're trying to do, if Forbes can just, man, if he had 3 interceptions this year, that's a great year for him, hell, if he got 2 interceptions, that might
be my
prediction
prediction for him. That's my prediction for him.
Yeah, that probably would be a great year. But I think most and foremost, they want to see a guy that's just able to put his stamp on the field. And if I'm Emmanuel, I'm looking at this like, look at what Bland did as a rookie in Dallas. How could you not be excited about that? You know what I mean? That tells you that I can do this. Hell, I'm a first-round draft pick. he better do it this year because he won't be on the roster next year if he doesn't. I'm
Yep.
just telling you that.
He better look at what happened to Jahan, KJ Henry and company, because they will pack your ass up real quick if
Yeah.
you don't start producing here in DC. I think what Trevon Diggs and Deron Bland and those guys got to thrive off of was good technique and good coaching. They're putting these guys in places where the turnovers were thrown right to them. I see a lot of people criticize Trevon Diggs and Bland for the ball was always going right to them. Why is the ball being thrown right to them? Because they're coaching. I see what's happening on the field. If you're right here, there was a play last year that illustrates this perfectly. D'Amico Ryans was talking to one of his DBs. I forgot who he was talking to. He said, yo.
Oh, he told him what to do, and then he got the pick.
They had this mic'd up. It was beautiful. This is exactly what good coaching does. He said, yo, if you fall flat here and you get the correct depth, the ball's going to be thrown right to you. And he takes it to the crib on a pick six. That is what good coaching does in this league. Emmanuel Forbes, we're begging you, take to the tutelage of the coaches. And if Dell Green offers to work with you, work with him, because Mikey Sanders still did. What are you waiting for, my guy?
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to be smart, man. Put your pride in your pocket, because your pride had you getting beat last year. So the thing is that do what you're supposed to do. He's a good kid, though. You know, you want to see him be successful, and he fits what they're trying to do. I mean, they like him. You know, they haven't given up on him, because let's face it, they got rid of everybody from Ron's, regime pretty much. So clearly they like something in Emmanuel to keep him around as a starter too. So they see something, and I think you're going to see that, big rebound, and you're going to be able to see what this secondary can be from week one, because they're going to Tampa, where you have, Mike Evans, a Hall of Famer, one of the most physical receivers ever in the NFL. And then you have Chris Godwin from my school, of course. We are, so you've got some guys that you're going to have to come out and play ball with. And but Baker takes chances.
Sure does.
So this is a game where you can, if you're Emmanuel Forbes or you're Benji St. Juice, or even if you're Mikey Sanders still, you have a chance to get one this, on Sunday. So hopefully that's what happens.
Okay. And my prediction is going to come in a couple of days, but since you're here, what is your prediction for Sunday? How does Washington fare up in Tampa versus a team that was a few plays of getting to the NFC Championship last year?
Absolutely. And I'm not drinking Kool-Aid, man. I studied this. I looked at this. I looked at tendencies. I think Washington wins this football game.
Yes, sir.
I do. I do. I think that you're going to see what you did not see during this preseason, but what we saw standing there on them sidelines: an energy, a togetherness, a toughness, and a franchise guy leading the charge for him. It's going to look nice, man. I truly believe that.
Fingers crossed. And it has a chance to be one of those ugly, muck it up week one games, 60% chance of precipitation. And the humidity is going to be there in Tampa, Florida. I like it. I'm going to let you get up out of here after this last question without listing the quarterback, because we already know what the vibrations are around Jayden Daniels. The Commanders' X factor in 2024 is...
I'm gonna go Frankie Louvu, because I really believe he's getting ready to have, and I'm not saying he's Micah. I'm not saying that, but he's going to have a Micah Parsons-esque impact on this defense. I truly believe that.
Yep, that's the player I'm most excited to see play here, not named Jayden Daniels. I'm going to go a little bit off the cuff with my prediction as X Factor. I think it's someone not a lot of people are talking about.
Brian Robinson.
Nope, I think Zach Ertz is going to have a bigger impact than most people think he's going to have it. I think he's getting hella targets as the starter here.
He's receiver number 2.
Yep.
I mean that as far as where the ball's going to be looked at, it's Terry, and it's, everybody keeps talking about De'Ami Brown. Yeah, he's going to throw deep to him sometimes. But I'm telling you, Zach Ertz, if he doesn't get 7 balls pulled in a game, something's wrong. And I mean that. Like, this guy, I think Zach Ertz finishes the year. I think it was 3 years ago where I'm going brain dead here. Tight end that's gone now. Was always hurt. Logan
Jordan
Thomas.
Reeves. Oh, Logan Thomas. Yeah.
Logan Thomas had like 70 receptions.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I think Zach Ertz has a chance to get 60 plus receptions this year in this offense because he and Jayden already have a rapport. And naturally, people are going to try to double team Terry. So you're going to see guys like Dayami and Zach Ertz be the guys that are the new pleasant surprises in this offense.
And there's no better security blanket for a rookie quarterback than a reliable tight end. Yes, Zach Ertz is the X factor for me in 2024. I think he has a turn back the clock fountain of youth type season here. A lot bigger role than people anticipate, but this was a great episode. We ended up going for 45 minutes of Commanders talk. Before you get out of here, let people know where they can find you, if you got any announcements upcoming, and what you got going on out in Ashburn this week.
Yeah, I do have an announcement coming. I can't say it yet. You know what it is, but it's for people like us, brother. And you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So, outside of that, but yeah, you can check me out on social media at Lake Lewis Jr., Lake Lewis JR, and that's on pretty much every social media format. You can check out, like Rio said, my new show, Lake Lewis Jr. show. We're going to mix it up with different personalities, not just sports. We're going to mix it up, but it's definitely football and centric, NFL centric. But I got some friends. My boy Pete Rock told me he's coming on. We talk about his album with Common, but he's a big Giants fan. So we're gonna mix it up a little bit, have some fun. We got a Rio on the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
YouTube sensation himself. So we're gonna mix it up and have a lot of fun with it. But as always, man, I appreciate everybody's support out there. Make sure you keep supporting this guy because he's doing some phenomenal stuff.
My guy, man, I appreciate the love, and I always give you your flowers as well. That's going to do for today's episode of Rambling with Rio. Y'all know the vibrations. Hail to the Washington Commanders. On your way out, here's a word from VA legend Michael Vick and our sponsors over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Michael Vick here at BetUS.com. Get it all. Huge bonuses, great odds, a race book, live in-game betting, and a casino. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.